Hello, good afternoon, and welcome everyone. I hope you're hearing us okay. My name is Lance Godefroy. I'm General Manager of Navionics UK.
I'm Tim Macpherson, publisher of Saltwater boat angling.
Okay, so this is the first in a series of webinars we're going to be running over the next few months. We've selected a wide range of subjects that will all be of interest to fishermen. Now, this first one, judging by the number of people that are attending, looks as though we found a good formula here. So thanks for coming along. Now, will be during the course of the webinar, the presentation, you will see the ability to ask some questions. If you do, we will do our best, time permitting, to get to those at the end of the presentation. If not, if time's run out, we will then contact you directly on a one-to-one basis by email to answer you. Okay, so by the way, despite my image, which I trust you can see, it says Marcello Albanese. That's my Italian colleague. That's not Marcello, it's Lance, the guy with the glasses. Okay, so what's the subject of the webinar? Use the latest mapping technology to improve your fishing. So what are we talking about here? Well, specifically, I'm going to be covering SonarChart, SonarChart Live, and advanced map options. The presentation's broken down into those three segments. There are plenty of illustrations and a couple of short videos to help get across the points from myself and Tim. Okay, so SonarChart Live, SonarChart, what is it? It's an HD bathymetry map with contours down to ½ a meter, and it reflects the ever-changing conditions and helps you to locate fishing areas. We integrate the logs, sonar logs from individual users with existing data to create SonarChart. So all of this gives you a much better interpretation of the seabed, whether it be sea, lake or river, than you've ever had before. Compared to the traditional nautical chart, which I expect many of you have been used to seeing, the SonarChart gives you a lot more contours. And if you're fishing, it gives you another dimension, basically. Okay. SonarChart Live. SonarChart Live allows users to create an instant map, a personal HD bathymetry map with a ½ meter contours while you're out on the water, while you're fishing in real time. This can be displayed on either the chart plotted fishfinder on the boat, where it looks great, you've got a nice size screen to look at, but it also can be shown on the Navionics boating app. Now, Navionics established this 3 years ago, but we've noticed, particularly over this last year, that the coverage and usage of SonarChart has grown enormously. Why should that be the case? Well, it's now available on most of today's plotter fish finders. When we first launched it, the hardware manufacturers took a little while to catch up and make their models fully compatible, but now that many of them have brought out new software versions to make them compatible with Navionics SonarChart and SonarChart Live, so there are more products available to view it. Secondly, the contribution of logs from the community has become much easier. The way in which logs can be sent to us is almost becoming running in the background if you want it to. It can happen automatically in some ways. Importantly, more and more anglers are now understanding what SonarChart is and how to interpret them. So all in all, it's helping anglers understand where fishing marks are, fishing marks that they've historically been fishing at for many years, but repeatedly we've had comments of guys telling us that, okay, I know why that was a good fishing mark now because I get a better resolution of the contours, but now I can, with SonarChart on, I can see other fishing marks that I want to go to in the close vicinity. So, and lastly, it gives a new dimension to the sport. So here's an illustration of Nautical Chart and SonarChart. This is the same body of water. I've simply used the Navionics web app, actually, that you can all view on our website, and switch between Navionics Nautical Chart at the top and SonarChart below. Now that's on quite a high range, so you're getting, you can't, if I zoomed in, I would see the half-meter contours appearing, but you can see the level of information that's open to you there. If I look here, this is Nautical Chart, and this is SonarChart. So again, you can see the new contours that are opening up to you as you switch on the SonarChart layer. Here we are, this is a river, and I know for a fact that a lot of logs have come in from this area. This is the River Stour in Suffolk, and you can see that those logs have been processed, and in the SonarChart layer you're getting a lot more contours appearing. Okay, I'm going to pass you over to Tim now, who, if you just bear with me 1 second whilst I pass the presentation over to him. Okay, Tim.
Yep. What you can see here is a fishing mark, which I've been fishing on, and many other people have off of Hastings. It was on the existing maps that we had. This area had nothing on it at all. It just looked like flat bottom. We could tell a little bit about the substrate, either by using underwater cameras or just by guessing. But when I took a SonarChart over this, I discovered some quite interesting things. There's a wreck that we usually start fishing from, which is just here. It's a very small wreck, and it actually, most of it's disappeared. But we couldn't work out why this area was producing so many big plaice. And when I went over it with this particular, with SonarChart, I discovered, oops, sorry, let's just carry on. There you go. When I went over this area,
Tim, you just need to move the screen on to the next slide there.
Yeah, I discovered that there were a whole series of little depressions all the way down you know, in a line in the tide, and each of these little depressions corresponded with where we had been catching quite big plaice, and not just us, many other people. And in fact, we also discovered that subsequently that the local travel netters were using that line, almost identical area, when they were netting for plaice and other things as well. This is another mark that we found, again, pretty much by accident. We started catching cod and other things on this mark near Eastbourne, and again, it wasn't really very much on the normal charts to give us a clue. There's a little bit here. You can see there's a contour there, but when we turned it onto SonarChart, suddenly it became very clear to us why this particular area was so productive. You've got this sort of peak, and then a quite a serious drop off down into a gully, and down into this gully, and where we were catching fish was in this area here. You can see from this image that we took off a mobile phone, that's the cod mark, and presumably they were moving up and down this contour. Now, of course, this means that in future, when we're using this this product, SonarChart, we can find similar areas like that in other places that are very likely to produce fish, and it's something that we couldn't see on the standard charts that we had on our existing machines. So I'm going to hand you back to Lance. Asking me to do something here. All right. There we go. There we go. Great.
Okay, so Thank you, Tim. So that's SonarChart. Now let's take a look at SonarChart Live. So as I said before, it's giving you the ability to create half-meter contours. The maps are created by converting your logs into detailed contour maps to navigate as you navigate, as you're moving. It's helping you find new locations, and it helps increase your awareness of shallow areas, revealing uncharted bottom features. Areas where fish are likely to hide, such as holes and drop-offs. Now this new chart appears in real time as an additional layer over your map. It remains stored on your device for you to look at any time in the future. Now, here's an example of that I took actually. This is a screenshot from a trip I did in my little Merry Fisher coming out of the harbour there. You can see the trace, the tail of where I left. I think it shows up pretty clearly even on that range. But if I move to the next one, you'll see that in the top slide, this is a area, a narrow, fairly narrow passageway actually, but in fact it's very deep there, as you can see by the white channel. In fact, so deep aircraft carriers and submarines go up and down there. So it really is quite a busy stretch of deep water. We've got a lot of turbulence going on as well there with the river coming into the sea, and it's quite difficult at certain states of the tide. Now with SonarChart Live on, I was able to do some fishing in that area. We actually caught quite a few mackerel, believe it or not. And then we went over into in the top where you see the red. The red is indicating a shallow area where it gets much shallower, so to avoid that, or to go looking for certain species of fish in that area, which we went to. If you look at the,
that smear of signals, that's you going over that area, isn't it? That's
yeah, that's right. Sorry, yeah, just to make it quite clear. Thank you, Tim. Yeah, this whole thing is us going over that water. And here on the bottom image, you can see that I've changed the settings so that the contours don't appear so dense. It will be apparent on the next slide as well. Again, this is the top one. If you look at that, this is a narrow channel between an island and the mainland. It's somewhere where you wouldn't normally go, only at high water. But I went through there, and it's quite interesting to see. We go from a very deep part of the harbour, coming up to probably the shallowest part, and the sonar chart reflects that quite clearly. Now in the bottom image, that carries on from I was showing you here just now, if you can see my mouse, and now you can see that we come around the corner and gone to see what we can find, and kept the SonarChart Live running, and I'm creating that map with the tidal correction on, with the density of sonar charts very high as well. If I go to the next one, you can see that there are more contours at the top, extremely dense, and lower down this is less dense. So if I want to see, if I don't want so many tight contours, you can quite easily adjust that.
One of the great things about this is that, you know, estuaries in particular, but other areas, they change. The bottom changes with weather, maybe big tides. So SonarChart Live actually allows me in estuaries in Cornwall that I fish in, you know, if there's been a big change in any of them, particularly one like the Camel, for instance, where, you know, there are big sandbanks. You might catch fish in one place one week and go back the next week, and there's nothing there. And actually, with SonarChart Live, you can find out why, because, you know, the contours of the bottom might well have changed. They might not have done, but it adds to our intelligence.
Yeah, no, that's a very good point, actually, Tim. The fact is that the SonarChart, the logs that we're receiving, can receive from all sorts of boaters, not only fishermen, actually, obviously from yachtsmen and power boaters, etc. those logs are coming back to us. So areas of water that may not have been surveyed for many, many years, the depth information is very old and needs to be reviewed and changed. And the areas like Tim just mentioned, the Camel, I can think of the East Coast, which is continually changing after some storms. The great thing about the SonarChart, the users can provide their data and help to update the chart. The next slide here is showing you some examples of SonarChart Live running on some MFDs from multifunction displays from Ray Marine, Lowrance and Simrad. You can see that there's a similarity. We've got the red shallow areas showing. You see the one at the bottom there, two of them actually got the tracking was on at the same time, so you can see that the track of the vessel was recorded, and that enables you to understand how those contours were created, where the boat was when it created them. And the one at the bottom right, it actually comes up to a higher level in the middle there. So I guess either side of the pink area, that's where it's quite likely to be having fish feeding. I'm not an expert fisherman, but I'm being guided by Tim here. I think listening to what he said earlier, I think that's what it's showing.
Yeah. Potential fish holding areas, certainly.
Yeah. Okay. So and then of course you can get the full picture, combine it with the fish finder image. So here we've got on the left-hand side a sonar chart with a SonarChart Live image appearing on top of it, and then you have the fish finder as well. And of course that's a fairly basic fish finder image that you have there, and you know that today's fish finders are so sophisticated. You've got all sorts of interpretations that are coming from the very sophisticated fish finders that are around these days. Okay, now this one is it's just a little video actually, which will I hope help you understand. You can see here we're running SonarChart Live. This is being recorded in real time. Goes up and down. You see the contours being created. The pink areas a little bit shallower. You see also all the time underneath you've got the original Nautical chart there, but your layers appearing on top of it. This is changing the transparency. So at a certain stage you can see through it, but as you raise that, the transparency goes and you don't see what's underneath. That's a user selectable setting. So that was pretty impressive. It will even record at quite fast speeds now on some equipment. I've been quite impressed. I even saw something running at over 50 knots, which was, I think, even faster than that actually. And they were recording. It was great to see. Okay, so this is I'm just illustrating to you how you can also see it on mobile. We've got a tablet at the top here, and at the bottom we've got a mobile. I'm going to just switch this one on. It's just a few seconds with a bit of music, but it will. Oops, sorry. It will help you get the idea. Bear with me. Here we go. So you've got Fish Finder at the bottom, SonarChart Live appearing and creating the contour map, navigational information shown at the same time.
Is that image taken from a mobile phone? It is, isn't it?
That's on a mobile phone, Tim. Yeah, that's connected wirelessly to the MFD, the fish finder that's on the boat. Many of them, most of today's modern plotted fish finders actually have Wi-Fi, so you're able to select that as another viewing option. You can actually have it, in many cases, you can have it on the plotted fish finder, and you can have it repeated on the mobile as well.
I'm sure there's plenty of charter skippers who want to turn the Wi-Fi off sometimes so they don't get their marks exposed. Yeah, sure.
I mean that's up for everybody to manage to the however they want to do that. But this is the system that's in place.
Yeah. That's...
Just wanted to show you a couple of other interesting illustrations. This is inland actually. This is showing you a map at the top. The top image is, in fact, it's quite close to Heathrow Airport. But Heathrow is just to the right of those legs that no contour, no depth information appearing there, and in fact right beside them is the River Thames. And you can see after the logs were received and processed, on the right hand side we've got 3 lakes showing good density of contours, and you can also see the River Thames there. We're getting a lot of contour information that we've never had in the past. And in fact, this is just zoomed in on one of those lakes, which is going to be the location of a kayak, London International Kayak Festival coming up in June. By the way, I think there's still some vacancies going there if anybody wants to sign up for it. It's going to be quite an event. It's the first one, international one of its kind. Okay, this is just another example to show you. This is Loch Lomond in Scotland, in fact. You can see the nautical chart element that is available from Loch Lomond. There's been no data available for map makers like us to be able to use in the past of this area. Users now have contributed logs. A lot of them are based on that marina at the bottom of the loch, and you can see the level of contour detail that we're getting. They've also used our community edit feature, which is part of our mobile product, where you can add things like channel markers. All those little red and green buoys, they've all got a little special icon on them, which indicates to the viewer that it's a community edit. And you can see even a dangerous mark, fuel station, marina facilities, and so on. So it's really opened up the possibility for the many boaters that there are on Loch Lomond. Okay, so advanced map options. Advanced map options are giving you some more control over the map, basically. As I've indicated before, you can change the density of the contours, you can change the transparency. You can also do things like adjust the water level. You can switch on tide correction if you go out again over a specific area, like the example that I showed you in my own boat. If you've got tide correction on, next time you go out, that depth information will be corrected for the current state of tide. The system selects the nearest tide station, and that will take the tidal information from there. This little short video shows you how you can set a shallow. Whoops, sorry. I'll go back to that. Here we go. This is going to be set to, I think it's about 7 or 8 feet. You go into the settings, and you're going to get a hatched area showing you. You see it coming up to 8 feet, and you see the hatched area around that drying spot there. So you're either going to avoid that, or if you've chosen you want to go in it, it's a quick reference, a quick way of looking at the map rather than trying to interpret the contours whilst the boat's rocking up and down. You can say, right, I'm going to avoid the hatched area. You can also set depth ranges. So this one shows you how you can select, say, a certain species of fish, for example, going to be in depths between 20 and 25 feet. And you can set the map so that it highlights that area for you. Here we go. So that white area, we've done a minimum range and a maximum range. I think it's coming up 25. There we go. So it's now saying basically you stay in that white area. It's a quick reference again. Choppy waters. Trying to do 101 other things. You just stay in the white area if that's your choice of fishing.
That's really useful actually, because it shows, if you know that there's an area of depth where the fish are being held and you're drifting over that area, then obviously this is going to give you the option to be able to pinpoint exactly when you should stop your drift and go back and start again. And I think that's really useful. And while I'm here, the panel on the right, which is the menu, that's the menu that comes up on the actual fish finder, isn't it? That's what you will see. Sorry, I should have made that clear. A lot of this, the previous screen as well, was just straight off of fish finder. Actually, it's one from Ray Marine. In fact, this happens to be, and that's the menu. That's how you choose it. Of course, you can pre-select that before you leave the harbour. You can get your settings all right before you go, and then concentrate on fishing when you're out there.
Okay. Just move on to the next one. So, okay, so how can you view SonarChart? There's various ways in which you can do that. First of all, you can just go straight to navionics.com, select web app, and you can switch between Nautical Chart and SonarChart. See the arrow there indicates the sonar symbol, and here I've selected SonarChart. If I hit it again, it would come back to the normal Nautical chart. This happens to be the Eddystone Reef. You can see very much why it is a reef, in fact. And of course, when you zoom in, you start to get the close together contours, as we've seen. So that's there now. You can, when the webinar is finished, you can please do go along and have a look at your local area. Start to see it for yourself.
You can't see that very well, but you can see that's how it looks on a phone, and it's very usable, very clean.
Yeah, actually we couldn't see it too much, but as Tim says, it appears in exactly the same way. Then also you can view it on all these brands of chart plotter fish finders, provided you've got one of those Navionics charts running with it. It's subject to caution. I do emphasize this. It's really important to always keep your onboard device running on the latest software that comes from the manufacturer. Now, the manufacturers are regularly doing software updates to add new features into their devices. Over this last year, there's been several updates, and with each update, more facilities come through, which is great. It's exciting. So do keep on top of that.
There's a couple of questions. 4 or 5 questions come in. Do we want to? There's a very quick one to deal with there about what.
Go ahead.
What additional equipment do you need to run SonarChart live over your standard plotter and sounder, if any?
Well, okay, Gareth. Thanks for asking that one. Again, I happen to have on screen here Lowrance, B&G, Simrad, Raymarine. All of those guys have made. And Humminbird have made software updates to their devices, and you don't need any extra equipment. If you've got the latest software loaded, you will be able to run SonarChart on any of those devices. And that's SonarChart. For SonarChart Live, exactly the same applies. I don't think Humminbird have quite got it there yet, but certainly there was a recent software release coming from the Nautical brands of Lowrance, Simrad, B&G to enable SonarChart Live to be fully compatible and running. We'll take a look at a couple of others in a second. Maybe there's quite a long question going on, but let me just carry on. So that's the second way of viewing charts. We looked at the web app, View SonarChart, of course, on your onboard device. And then you can view it as Tim has just shown. This is an image I took from my mobile, actually. On the left-hand side, you've got the normal nautical chart, and then you see I've gone into the menu, switched on SonarChart Live. I was connected to my onboard device, and I was able to call up my previous recordings, and I've been just coming around the pier there, and you can see the high level of contours just appearing. So you have all of those ways of doing that. Perhaps we'll just take a moment to. Is there any other question? Quick. Some quite long questions coming through there. I think we're probably going to have to answer those separately. Otherwise, it's going to take us a while to interpret. We don't want to bore you. But Tim, shall I just hand back over to you now? I think you've got a little bit there. If you just bear with us a second, please, and I'll pass the presentation over to Tim. There you go, Tim.
Okay.
So Tim's just now going to set up a little bit about.
Basically, I just wanted to say that in Saltwater Boat Angling's next issue, which comes out on the 23rd of March, we've got a feature about some of the new technology that marine electronics companies are bringing onto the market. Lowrance, Raymarine, and Garmin as well. and obviously some more information about Navionics. A lot of people buy or are thinking of buying new plotters at this time of year, so we felt that it was a good way to help people find out about the new technologies. I mean, Saltwater Boat Angling, very quickly, for those who don't know, it's the only magazine exclusively dedicated to boat angling in the UK. We do charter boats, we talk about private boat fishing, and we do a lot of stuff on kayaks. And if you want to find out some more, then go to the website address there, saltwaterboatangling.co.uk. And just to finish off here, there's the front cover for the next issue. So you can get the magazine in most shops or subscribe on the website. I'll hand you back now to Lance.
Okay, thanks, Tim. It's quite a fish to land on a kayak by the looks of it. I think I recognise the guy that's there as well, actually.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Tim. So that's mine. I'll just move to my next slide. So finally, this is a slide just before the end. This is a video I've just run here that basically encapsulates everything we've been talking about. I hope you've enjoyed this, but just watch the video and it's self-explanatory. Okay, everyone. We will come back to you with the answers to those few questions that we have. There's quite one or two quite long ones. We'll be back to you directly to answer that. So just remains with me to say thank you for listening. We hope you enjoyed it, and we hope you'll come along next time.
We'll be talking about place fishing next time. So look forward to seeing you then. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Bye.
Bye.